It gives me great pleasure to be here. I have a lot of respect and regard for superstar Bala. He was, in a way, instrumental for my educational growth. So when he called and spoke, inviting me, I could not say no. So this is indeed a great opportunity. I must thank Great Lakes and also Association of International Wealth Management of India for this opportunity to speak about our family business. I must say that 40 years almost our company is going to complete by 2021. It is also a tricky business when both the spouses are sharing the same stage, the same mic, and talking about family business. So we made peace yesterday, last night at home. So we agreed that she'll speak about family and I'll speak about the business, family business. So without much ado, let me So the story of Kavitalaya is actually the story of our founder, Mr. K. Balachandran. So starting as a playwright, he moved to theatre, staged a lot of very powerful dramas in the 50s and early 60s, and then pursued his passion of film direction. When he directed about 101 films in 4 languages over a period of about 42 years. He was working until the age of 82. So he has been an inspiration for the business. So this is the map of Mr. Balachandra's career. Started in the 1950s. First film was directed in 1964, a Tamil film. 1981 was when our company was founded. And until then, he was just a movie director, but became a very big brand. In a short space of about 10 years, Mr. Balachandran carved a unique place for himself as a director. And his core value was formed even at that time, because his value was about responsible filmmaking, responsible storytelling. And all his stories had to have a message. In some way, it has to inspire the person who sees the film. So his core value was telling responsible stories through the medium of film and later television. He was awarded the Padma Shri in 1987. He also reinvented himself as a television content maker and director in the early 90s. In 2001, he directed his 100th film, and 2010, he received the prestigious Dada Saheb Phalke Award, which is Government of India's annual award for lifetime achievement. So what is the background and legacy that Mr. Balachandran left for us, and which we respect and try to follow to the best of our ability till today? So the founder's vision. So the vision of the founder in starting a production house. So Mr. Balachandran was a creative director and not a business person. So he had no idea for a very long time that he was going to start a production venture. He perhaps would have been very happy to be a good film director, a respected quality film director. But in 1981, he realized that he had already introduced some of the top stars. Mr. Rajinikanth, the film superstar, was his find. Mr. Kamal Haasan was nurtured by him as a great actor. And Mr. Balachandra actually has been instrumental, as most of you in the South know. He is responsible for the introduction of 46 actors, most of whom have become big stars and celebrities. So the underlying core was strong creative excellence. But telling good stories alone is not enough. So you have to tell stories which are technically also good today. In today's world, if you have to tell a good story, it also has to be made like Avatar or a Bahubali. So you have to have strong technology and good technical values. And both these are not enough. You can have good creative stories, you can have great technological excellence, but it has to be commercially successful. And it has to be successful for the reason that if you want to sustain as a business. So Mr. Balachandra realized that by 1981, he had the ability to get actors to give him dates for the good stories that he wanted to tell the world. So he had the ability to telephone Mr. Rajinikanth or a Kamal Haasan in those days and get them to say yes for a good story. So it was not the use of his power, but it was the use of his persuasive storytelling. So creative excellence, strong technical values, and commercial prudence were the cornerstone with which Mr. Balachandra founded Kavitalaya. So we also had the opportunity to have a very good talent ecosystem which grew with us. These were writers, directors, good storytellers, editors, music composers, and so on. So I'm going to track the journey of Kavitalaya over 4 decades. And because I have a time limit, and Mrs. Kandasamy also will be speaking, I'm going to go a little fast. So I'm going to talk about our journey in terms of the 4 decades. And right now we are in the 4th decade. This was our first logo. I cannot but talk about the Saint Thiruvalluvar. And one of the reasons I think that Superstar Bala also likes us is not just because our chairman introduced Superstar Rajinikanth, but we also share the same Thiruvalluvar in the campus. Okay? I think we have a statue, a beautiful white statue of Thiruvalluvar in Great Lakes. So this poet saint is the inspiration for us. So in the first decade, it was about celebrating creativity. We were still not on top in terms of technology at that time. We were still learning the business of films, and in the first decade, I would say that I was not there when the company was founded as part of the family. So I got into the family in 1983. So films like Netrikam, Pudukavidai, Sindhu Bhairavi, all these films proved to the industry that art and business could actually coexist. And here I just want to talk about movies as a basic industry. It's very unique in the sense that we have a conflict always between art and business. we always have a conflict between creativity and commerce. So if you have to take an artistic decision, it will have to cost you more than what you might have the budget for. For example, location decisions, for example. The film director would want to go and shoot in Miami Beach. But as a production house, you have to say we have the Goa Beach, we have the Kerala Beach. So you have to have a plan B for every creative decision, because every creative decision will have an economic impact. So how do we manage these two conflicts? So art and business always will conflict. And the successful production houses are those which can manage this conflict. So many films in the first decade were directed by Mr. Balchandra himself. He is popularly known as KB, or some of his key associates like Mr. S.P. Muthuraman, Mr. Visu, and so on. So what he did was, in this decade, we had one important takeaway. Mr. Balchandra established an arm's length relationship between KB as the founder of the production house and KB as the director. And this is very, very important for a movie production house. So what this arm's length relationship meant was that Mr. Balchandra could bring his best stories and direct them within Kavitalaya as a banner in his own production house. But he also gave Kavitalaya the freedom to take stories from other directors. So Kavitalaya had the freedom to work with other directors and also be a platform for Mr. Balachandra's stories. But this is very easy. This can be easily done by anybody. But more importantly, Mr. Balachandra retained the freedom to take some of his good stories to other production houses. So this was a very healthy arm's length relationship that was created and nurtured. So some of the business events in this time, I have to acknowledge the role of Mr. B. Natarajan, who was almost like a business advisor and executive producer of Kavitalaya, a strong support to Mr. Balachandra. So here again I want to say the vision of our founder. He did not want to get into the nitty-gritties of business because he thought that that would take his creative skills away, or it would be a distraction for him. So in order not to get distracted, he selected an excellent person, Mr. V. Natarajan, in the first decade, who stood solidly by him. Mrs. Pushpa Kandasamy, the daughter of Mr. Balchandra, she is the eldest in the family. She was introduced as a producer to the business in 1987. And with her consent, I'm going to take a little credit. So we got married in 1983. And for the first 3 years, she was at home, getting to know her in-laws and taking care of our family. And then I discovered that she had a lot more talent. And she knew the film industry very, very well. And she had the ability has the ability to analyze scripts and good stories and pick out which stories can work if well executed. So this was a talent that Mrs. Kandasamy has, and I thought that it was waste of time having her just as a homemaker, and I persuaded her to get involved in her father's business. Can I say that? Okay. Thank you. And also in this decade, Mr. Kailasam, the son of Mr. Balchandra, went to USA for getting qualified and trained in advanced production technology. Unfortunately, he is not with us today. So I'm just going to play a couple of clips here. Can I play this? All right. While they are fixing the sound, I'll just go ahead with the takeaways. Right. So in this decade was also a decade of learning about how to balance creativity and commerce. We spoke about them. The vision and values of our founder, Mr. Balachandra, were clearly established during this period. And as I said, the core value can be played. We'll move on to the second decade, which is 1991 to 2001. So by the end of the first decade, Kavitalaya was already a brand, thanks to the untiring efforts of Mr. Balachandra, and Pushpa got into the family business at that time. I was still working in the corporate world, so at that point. But during the second decade, this was a decade of sustaining and building the brand through diversification. And I would like to call this as the golden era of Kavitalaya. This logo also evolved, and we had more path-breaking films like Annamalai, Roja, Duet, Muttu, Vanamailai, and so on. So here we also learned the concept of portfolios, which is a very common theory in business management. So the movie industry, let me just take a minute to explain this. So the movie industry is inherently a very risky business. It is risky because the variability of return can be quite extreme. And we can get a 200% return on some films like Bahubali, or we can lose our shirt in some films. So the whole learning is about how to de-risk and how to minimize the risks to such an extent that you cannot lose your capital even if the return is low. So we understood that we had to do this through a portfolio. So this was an era where in some years we used to make 3 or 4 films. So we used to have very good low budget and medium budget films with good content. And we also used to have a couple of good high budget commercial films. So sometimes the profits made on the commercial films would take care or subsidize the content driven films. So the concept of portfolio was well articulated and managed. We also had the unique privilege of introducing Mr. A.R. Rahman in the movie Roja, which became an all-time success. So for those of you who would be interested, Roja was made on a very nominal budget in those days. Can you guess? Anybody? What the budget of Roja would have been 25 years back, 1993, was 4 crores. 4 crores. 50 lakhs. Just one more guess and I'll tell the answer. Around 1. So he comes closest to that. Give him a hand. So the budget of Roja was 1.2 crores, which included Mr. Maniratnam's remuneration at that time, because he was the star. The film had only new actors. So today you cannot do computer graphics, simple graphics for less than 3 crores in any movie. So we were able to make films at low cost, good content, And today we are still able to leverage the IP of such films, becoming more difficult today. We also had the unique global learning of taking a Rajinikanth film called Muthu to Japan. So this was an initiative that Kavitalaya took. So most of the producers would just license the global rights to a distributor abroad and forget about it. And most of the distributors used to make a lot of money without the producer even knowing how much those films made. And it was not necessary for the producer also because he had already licensed the rights. So we actually felt that we were losing a good opportunity. At least we should know how the foreign markets are behaving to our films. So we took Muthu to Japan, which is a very unlikely market for an Indian Tamil film. And please remember, in Muthu, Japan, Mr. Rajinikanth was a new face. Here, he was a superstar at that time. But for the Japanese audience, he's a new face. But in spite of that, the film was very well received through the efforts and through the content of the film. Most of the people connected the story of Muthu to a Buddhist philosophy. And as you know, 70% of Japanese are Buddhists, so they liked it. And it is a great learning for us. And I'm very happy to say that today Muthu is a case study in the top B schools of India. So the second decade also witnessed Mr. Balachandar and Kavitalaya getting into television, the transition from the big screen to the small screen. And this was very important. Our founder used to say, see, in the big screen, you have no escape, right? You buy a 200 rupees ticket, you go inside the theatre with a group of people, family, friends, colleagues, and all of you have to collectively decide if you want to walk out of the movie, right? If one person doesn't like the movie, still you are paid for it. And in the movie industry, the theatres collect the money in advance. So you have no choice, you have paid, right? But in the case of television, the choice is the audience, the choice is the customer. So you can browse the channels, you can switch off TV, or you can just walk away. So keeping the audience engaged in the small screen was a much bigger challenge. And I'm very happy to say that Mr. Balachandar took on this challenge even when he was at the peak in his films. So he took the challenge of the small screen, and most of our early serials were the ones on which Sun TV and Jaya TV and Raj TV built their television rating points, TRPs. So we had a bunch of serials at that time. I'll just skip this one. So let's go to the third decade, 2001 to 2011. So we had more films at that time. Okay, for those of you who don't follow Tamil, this is the first Kural from a collection of Tirukural, which is the poet saint. And it says, Adara Mudala Eduthalam Adi Bhagavan Mudatre Ulaga. It's simply to say in very simple things, everything begins and ends with God. So this is the logo with which we worked for about 30 years, till recently. So this period was a period of great challenges, the third decade. It was a period of challenges because the movies became very high cost and risky ventures, and star salaries skyrocketed, okay? And also the corporatization of the industry started happening. So the early years, the corporatization was not a real boon to the industry because corporates had very little knowledge of the creative sector, and they ended up paying huge star salaries. So the traditional business people like us, we knew exactly what the value of the stars were, the talent was. But in their anxiety to get into the business, the corporates of those days, they pitched the salaries at 2.5, 3x of the regular salaries. And most of the stars naturally gravitate towards them. So the cost of the entire ecosystem went up. But even in that challenging phase, we had about 11 or 12 films. So during this phase, and of course I forgot to mention this, that I joined the business at the time of Roja. So I was very lucky that my first project in Kavitalaya was the movie Roja, and we used some management techniques to cut the production time. So we actually used a tool called BERT CPM, which most engineers would know, to cut production time by about 9 days. And this was perhaps one of the first management techniques to be used in Indian movies. This was an effort by Kavitalaya through me. During this period, I realized that the industry was becoming more corporatized, but there was no course in B schools about the film industry or about the entertainment industry. There was not one course anywhere in the country. In fact, across Asia, there were no courses. Most of the good courses were in the US and UK. So I took the initiative. I had always wanted to be a teacher. It was a passion in me. So I took the time to develop the first of its kind course on the film industry based on my experience with Kavitalaya. And also Kavitalaya gave me the time and freedom to design this course. So this course was recognized as an innovation in management education at the international conference at Ahmedabad in 2011. And I'm very happy to say that I'm now teaching this course in ISB and also in Ahmedabad, and do guest lectures. So basically the course is all about a 360-degree view of the business of films and how management techniques can be used in the film industry. Now you could see some of the logos of the schools, and you could see Michigan Ross, Chicago Booth. I think I missed Kellogg there. My mentor and good friend Superstar Bala was instrumental in arranging a guest lecture for me at Kellogg. This was in 2015 April. She was with me at the time. And this was for the globalization of the Indian industry, movie industry, in which I have done some research. So this is something that we are very proud about as Kavitalaya, because there are very few production houses which invest in education. And we were the first to do it, and we are very happy to be associated with schools in this process. And now I come to the current decade, which is our fourth decade. This is our 38th year in the movie industry. And here we had to adapt. At every stage, you could see that from the big screen of films, we moved to television, which is the small screen. And today all of you know what kind of screens are we looking at. Personal screens, right? 5.5, 6-inch screens. So 70% of video consumption today happens on mobile screens. And today, with smartphones being highly affordable and data costs having come down to by 80% in the last 3-4 years, thanks to companies like Jio, we have the ability to consume a lot of video content. So this is a very interesting trend, and we didn't want to lose this opportunity. So in the fourth decade, also I must say that this was a difficult period for us, because we lost two key members, her brother Mr. Kailasam and Mr. Balachandra himself at the age of 85. So during this period we had to step back, and this is also what happens in a family business which is not scaled up very high, okay, because she had to get busy. We had to all take care of sick family members. The business took a beating at that point. So one of the initiatives that we did was focusing on the academic initiatives. All right, so this is the next gen business that we are in. So as of 2017, we moved into digital content creation for what is now called the OTT ecosystem. So the OTT ecosystem are basically companies like Amazon Prime Video, Netflix, Hotstar, Sony, Live, and so on. And I'm very happy to say that Kavitalaya is the first production house from the south to actually make a break into the OTT content. So last year we launched this very popular series called Harmony with A.R. Rahman. So one of the things that the film industry allows us to do is when you launch a person like Mr. Rajinikanth or Mr. Rahman, the goodwill remains with us for a very long time. And if you don't mess up that relationship, it remains with you for life. So this is one of the biggest assets of the industry, that you build good relationships and goodwill which help the business. So we are the only production house to have done 9 films with Mr. Rajinikanth because of the goodwill. And that leads to good business, right? So this is very important in the family business, that you have to keep the goodwill with not only just the customers, but goodwill with the supply chain, with the vendors, and with the talent. And right now we are doing Tamil sitcoms. We have a bunch of 10 scripts which are under development. And as I speak to you today, we are in discussions with almost all the major global platforms for content. And this is also changing the local industry in the south, because it's not possible for every young film director or a student who passes out of a film school to come and do this. He cannot easily make a movie because movie budgets are very high. But they can easily come and pitch a story to Kavitalaya, and we can take the story and take it to a Netflix after polishing it. And this is what we are doing. So we are helping the local talent ecosystem to find good opportunities for their stories and bringing their stories to the screens. Okay, I'm going to give time to Mrs. Pushpa Kandasamy, who will talk about the insights of the family and some of the challenges that she will, I think, over the next 10 minutes, and then we are wrapping it up.
Good morning to one and all here. First of all, I would like to thank the organization Great Lakes Institute and also the Association of International Wealth Management of India to have given me this opportunity to share my flashback about our company and good memories. And I also like to thank Mr. Kandasamy for giving me this opportunity to talk here. So as we have seen already, and as has been said in the introduction, that family business is the in thing in India, and according to that PwC report, I think it is on a growth trajectory, and more so in the entertainment sector. It is a norm more than an exception. Maybe it is because the risk and the reward are shared by the family members more easily, and more important than that, the feeling that talent runs in the genes. So mostly all the entertainment businesses are family owned. And for example, from the south you have the iconic AVM studios and the legendary Gemini studios. And also from Andhra we have the ANR family, and from Bangalore we have the Rajkumar family. So there are a lot of examples, and most of the entertainment houses are family owned. And now I am standing before you here as managing director of this company, Kavitalaya. Not because I trained myself in business management and approached a company, submitted my resume and all that, but because I am the daughter of the legend Mr. K. Balchandar. So that is family business for you. So I would like to just share a few insights from my point of view. Maybe some may be trivial, but whatever it is, those insights would be good takeaways for family business, because as Dr. Bala said, it is one size doesn't fit all family businesses, and each family business is unique in its case. So what is the leadership style in such a family business? See, when the family patriarch, he builds the business based on his skill as capital, then he is the ultimate leader. So, and he remains so. So all the decisions he takes and the family members abide by that. But having said that, I would say that my father delegated. He never interfered in the running of the business, and he never breathed down our necks. And I have never felt stifled even 1 minute or even a moment in the running of the organization. So, and what was important, what was conveyed to us was that the reputation, the legacy of the business, his name and fame were the most important things. So whatever we need to do, we had to abide that should not get tarnished. The reputation, nothing should happen which is against the reputation of the company. So, so the most important thing would be whether business would suit this type of attitude. But that is what our business was, and as it was pointed out, it is the family culture which actually precedes the business aspects of that in such family businesses. So relationships were more important than numbers, more than profits, more than top line or bottom line or anything. It is the relationship. So that is why, that is how we have Rajinikanth. He was mentioning that he has done 9 movies. It is because of that relationship. So actually, I would like to quote an example. When Rajinikanth was interested in making a film about Raghavendra, who is a saint. And these type of movies do not have that much of commercial value. And he is not known that much in Tamil Nadu. That Saint Raghavendra is not a known figure in Tamil Nadu. But in spite of that, in spite of whether the movie would be feasible or not, Mr. Balchandar, he said that he would do it for Rajini's sake. So that has stood us in good stead actually. Because till today, we are enjoying a good reputation and goodwill with Mr. Rajini, and he comes to us in times of difficulty if we have. So that relationship is always maintained. So this is one important aspect, and we still continue to think that relationships are the most important. So next I would like to just touch upon the perception of the ecosystem when a family business is operating. So whenever a junior member becomes and occupies a vantage position inside the business, so how does the ecosystem look? So here there is a curse. Usually when there is a success, it is usually the credit is given to the patriarch because he is there to guide. So then what is the difficulty and all that? So naturally success will come. But when there is a failure, then it becomes the immaturity of the person who has just then gone inside and taken the position. So it is because of the immaturity, and whatever they do is watched under a microscopic lens. Even the way we dress up, even the way we move with the patriarch, all that is noticed, especially in an entertainment industry where everything is blown out of proportion. So we used to be very careful on that. That is both my father and myself. See, for example, I used to call my dad Vanga, Vapo, which was a very casual way of referring to him. So once I went inside the Kavitalaya office, I always said Vanga, Ponga. I used to stand up when he came into the room and all that. So this was initially, it was very difficult, and but then we get used to such things. Same way, my father was so careful in giving certain signals that I am going to be a force to reckon with. For example, he would always refer to me as, she is my producer. And he always used to say, ask me to come and sit next to him whenever on shootings. And my father was such a revered figure in the industry that nobody would dare sit next to him. But whenever I went into the sets, he used to say, Pushpa, come sit next to me. So these were subtle signs where he showed that, I am an important factor and people have to respect me slowly. So, and similarly, what is the old loyalties, you will be aware of whenever we are in an organization, the old loyalties and how they look at us. Whether in the beginning there will be a lot of suspicion, a lot of mistrust. So what are we doing there? Can I take instructions from this person? She doesn't seem to have any knowledge previously. So am I right? And then egos, definitely there will be a clash. So those times what I have done, this was definitely a challenge for me because I have not had any formal business management education. So what I did was to mostly align myself with them. So probably on introspection you might say that this is not a very good approach. Maybe I would have taken some drastic decisions and all that, but those days I felt that that was the most seamless approach to take, so that to gain the trust of the people under my dad. So this was one important insight which I thought I should give. The next point which I would like to touch is the role of siblings. As it has been said even by Dr. Bala, see how the siblings are playing a very important aspect in family relationship. So at one stage of the in my career, we had the television division also. So I was looking after the film division, and my brother Kailasam, he was looking after the television division. In fact, he was trained in US and he came back and he started this television division, which was called Minbi Mangal. And at one stage we shared the common office space. We shared even the common office desk, a reception desk. And we shared, the major thing was we shared the common legacy of that of Mr. K. Balchandar. But we were very sure that we will not share the products, that I would never think of doing television and he would never think of doing films. Though we carried on as separate profit centers, we thought that we should not mix up these products. There were a lot of opportunities, people used to tempt us with proposals, but we were very, very clear that even then, even if it is going to be a very profitable venture, we would just stick to our line of product. So that way, I think our family, we missed out on major conflicts, and I would be happy to say that my brother's company, division, Minbi Mangal, went on to produce the iconic content in television in the country today, be mega serials or reality shows or very good chat shows. They were the ones who did the pioneering work in that. So that way I'm very happy to say that we never had any of the major conflicts, and I'm sure my father and mother would have been very happy and proud to see that result. And similarly here, though it may sound a little trivial, I may say the importance of communication between the siblings, how important it is. So for example, there was a film Sindhu Bhairavi which my father did, and afterwards the television division thought they would do a sequel with that, and so they named it Sahana. And though the IP and all belongs to my dad and he does not have to ask anybody, but my brother made it a point to orally consult me and get my approval that we are going to do a serial on this film, and whether I had any objection to that. So such small things go, these are very sensitive things and they go a long way in maintaining relationships. Same way, what we tried out was consolidation of certain resources, whether we could do. I am telling this all because when siblings are operating, sharing this common legacy of a father, these things are all very important. So we thought we will consolidate certain resources, and we used to do a carpooling. But somehow we felt that people were very possessive about their timings and about their meetings. So we somehow felt that it was not working out. So we then and there took a decision that we will not do. Will independently perform. Though we are from operating from the same office, we will just do our things independently, have different log sheets, have different things, so that there is no clash at all and the relationship maintains intact. So coming now to family life. See, when more than one person is working in the same business, so how does the family life at home, how does it look? So you're right, actually there won't be any demarcation between a professional life and a personal life. But one thing is, those days we never had the maturity to compartmentalize our timing, and we always used to talk of business pressures and bring it home. But now being in our 60s, I think now we know how to actually take care of our family time. And we have a daughter, she's a married daughter, she's working for ITC as a brand manager. And we are we are waiting to welcome her. Whenever she's ready to join us, she could. So now maybe she's independently grooming her skills. So that is one regarding the family life I just wanted to share. And there are certain advantages in a family business. As women, people would appreciate me telling that you can take leave without feeling guilty. So you could take leave for your maternity, you can take leave for looking after the sick at home, you can come back with no fear of being outdated or your position being threatened or anything like that. So I have been very lucky in that, because when my daughter used to come back from school at 3:30, I always used to be at home, and all my business meetings were arranged so that that time is not affected. So this is quite an important factor, I feel, in a family business, and it's an advantage definitely. And one more advantage which I wanted to tell is the speed at which decisions can be taken in a family business setup. Because everything is quite informal. So probably you can think of something, call up your chairman or founder in the morning, and by the evening maybe you can even get into action. So I would like to say this example from my own experience. With this film, Annamalai, the shooting was supposed to start from tomorrow. Today morning, the director who was contracted to do the job, due to personal reasons, he's not able to continue. So he gives his resignation and a letter from. So what are we supposed to do? Just one more day and we can't waste the call sheet of a superstar. So the decision was taken immediately. We had a meeting. Immediately another director was brought. So then and there, by that afternoon, that director was appraised of the story. So all he was taught about what he need to do. He had discussions with Rajinikanth, everything. So the shooting went on from the next day as planned. So such fast actions would, I do not know whether, I'm not aware of any corporate setup to comment, but I feel this is possible only because of these type of family business setups. And one more advantage which I would say is probably we all take our salaries last. Whether we are the project managers or the executive producers, or we are the artists, or we are the technicians doing the direction or the cinematography. In any project, we are very happy to take our salary last if it is our project. So that is a very big major advantage, because in times of financial crunches and all that, you will find that very useful. And another point which I would like to say, which is it really an advantage, is what the question I thought of asking. See, there till now in my career, there has been no performance appraisal for me. So right from the time I joined, because of my affectionate father never even appraised me of my performance. More so in the industry, because we are used to thinking that for success or failure is destiny. No, it is not our making at all. So, but probably if he had given me a performance appraisal, maybe I would have improved myself in those early years. So so the perception is whether it is really an advantage or not. So the same way, another thing which I feel now, I think, is avoiding conflict. Whether that is really tackling a conflict or avoiding a conflict, which is better. So for example, if the ostrich, hiding under the ground, that sort of approach if you take in a family organization, because if you are afraid of conflicts, then you may not set things right in the proper time. So this probably, we learned some of the things the hard way, but it's okay. Anyhow, we learned the lessons, I think that is more important. So and then coming to, because my dad, when he started the company, it was 80s, and now as he said, we are in the 4th decade. So what are the certain things, that is a change in values. So whether it is tradition, that was tradition and this is modern, or this is a traditional thinking and we had modern thinking, that I do not know. But some of the things we have changed our thinking. So initially my dad, when he was looking after the affairs, he always said that raising capital is a no-no for him from outside sources. But now we feel that we are raising money, that is the way of growth. So capital infusion by outside members is definitely a way of growth now. Same way, the importance of networking. So he belonged to a generation where he felt that the product must talk for itself, and no, networking is not, that is not a special skill at all. But now we find that the networking is very important, and at this moment I would like to acknowledge the services of my husband Kandasamy also. With his excellent networks in the academic field and also in the overseas marketing field, Kavitalaya was able to go into certain other areas which otherwise we would not have ventured into. And the other important thing which I thought I would tell is that of core competence. So people in those, that generation always thought that you do one thing and that one thing you do well. So it was the core competence concept. Now we feel that we have to, for diversification, we need to develop different talents in different areas and also make everything your core competence. So this way we were also able to move into the 4th decade. So this, with these words, I think I would like to give back the mic to Kandasamy. Hope you had a little insights which you could take home and from the family business aspect. Thank you very much.
So just want to wrap up, just take about 2-3 minutes. So the basic thing, what helped us to survive and grow in a very uncertain industry was our capability to change and capability to adapt to the environment. So as the screen sizes became different, and now we have the personal screen, we are still making content. And here I would just like to mention that we are working with a young team. Our CEO, Mr. Ishwar, is sitting with us here. He is just 31 years, and we are building a very young team around our company. But they still continue to cherish the values and the ethos of the founder and the values of the company. I'd just like to end this talk on a, sorry if I had taken slightly longer, but just end this talk on a light note. So any one of you here who's had a boss in the office who's also a boss at home? Oh, I have company. We should catch up. So I'm very happy to say that my boss in the office and my boss at home for about 14 years is the same person who is sitting here. And we are very happy to have built this company together from the second decade with, of course, the advice of Mr. Balchandran. Thank you very much, Great Lakes and the Association of Wealth Management, for this opportunity. Thank you.